Long before modern nations erected their boundaries, powerful military machines dictated the course of human events. These legions did more than conquer. They invented warfare, shattered civilizations, and imprinted their strategic brilliance on time itself. We are about to profile the apex predators, the 10 most dominant armies of the ancient world, whose innovations forever altered global power dynamics. Welcome to the Immortals, where true legends stand eternal. Join our ranks by subscribing below. Our countdown begins with an empire that clawed its way back from subjugation by mastering its enemy's own technology. Number 10. The Egyptian army, logistics, lethality, and the mobile bow. The resurgence of Egypt's military might was born directly out of crisis. Under Ahmose I, the pharaonic kingdom successfully expelled the Hyksos invaders, marking a pivotal moment. The genius of the subsequent Egyptian command lay in their pragmatic adaptation. They didn't just drive out the invaders. They immediately seized, refined, and perfected the Hyksos's most advanced implement, the war chariot. The original Hyksos chariots were cumbersome, weighty platforms used for a frontal shock assault. The Egyptians quickly engineered a lighter, dramatically faster two-man vehicle, emphasizing swift maneuverability and precision-ranged combat over brute collision. The pilot. One soldier expertly handled the reins, enabling high-speed flanking actions and rapid repositioning. The artillery. The second soldier wielded the composite bow, a weapon layered with horn and sinew, granting it superior penetrating power and range compared to the older Egyptian simple bows. This ingenious modification transformed the Egyptian chariot unit into the most formidable high-speed skirmishing force of the Bronze Age, allowing them to dictate the tempo of engagements across Nubia, Syria, and Canaan for centuries. Infantry and the signature scimitar. The Egyptian foot soldiers served as the crucial holding force. Their iconic weapon was the hopesh, a distinctive sickle-shaped sword. This design was tactically ingenious. Its curved profile was ideal for snagging and disrupting an adversary's shield. The heavy cutting edge was devastating against unprotected flesh, delivering crippling blows. Infantry formations utilized long thrusting spears and massive shields constructed from reinforced oxhide. Defensive gear was a matter of doctrine. While Pharaoh's Guard and elite regiments sported bronze or leather scale armor, most troops deliberately used lighter protection. This wasn't a resource limitation. It was a choice to prioritize swiftness and tactical flexibility so the infantry could rapidly support the chariot movements. In conflict, the Egyptians specialized in guerrilla-like rapid strike operations. Chariots would harass enemy positions, discharge withering volleys, withdraw instantly, and circle for another pass. This relentless pressure systematically dismantled opposing formations, creating the perfect window for the infantry to advance and consolidate the victory. Their imperial expansion was methodical. Thutmose III conducted 17 major campaigns in barely 20 years, extending Egyptian influence further into the Near East than ever before. This sustainable projection of power hinged on their core logistical advantage, the Nile River. The Nile functioned as an immense, dependable supply artery. Troops, provisions, and war gear could be transported with unprecedented speed and reliability, far outpacing the logistical capabilities of most ancient rivals. This riverine supply chain allowed them to sustain massive forces deep within hostile territory. Even tactical setbacks were managed with masterful spin. The stalemate at Kadesh under Ramesses II was swiftly reframed through colossal temple carvings as an unparalleled heroic triumph, ensuring a psychological victory was permanently recorded in stone. Despite pioneering mobility and superior composite bows, the standard Egyptian infantry remained comparatively unsophisticated relative to later armies. More critically, their military efficacy was deeply tied to the stability of the crown. When pharaonic leadership faltered, their armed strength rapidly evaporated, lacking the systemic resilience of the military empires above them. Number 9. The Carthaginian army, tactical alchemy, and the mercenary corps. Carthage established itself as the commercial and naval hegemon of the Western Mediterranean. Their resulting military was a direct reflection of their vast wealth and far-reaching influence, a true military mosaic of diverse cultures, all harnessed for maximum combat versatility, and crucially, commanded by the transcendent tactical mind of Hannibal Barca. The immense treasury of Carthage enabled them to construct a fighting force unparalleled in its heterogeneity. It was a globally sourced, combined arms organization, each contingent providing distinct expert capabilities. Numidian light cavalry, the undisputed masters of swift reconnaissance and flanking maneuvers. Equipped with javelins, their endurance and velocity were essential for controlling the wings of any battle. Iberian infantry, furnished with the lethal, heavy curved falcata, sword, and sturdy oval shield, they provided aggressive, shock-inducing close-quarters combatants. Gallic shock troops. Utilizing long, slashing broadswords, they contributed raw, intimidating ferocity to the line. Libyan phalanxes. These highly disciplined troops formed the reliable backbone of the heavy infantry, maintaining the structural integrity of the main battle line. Carthaginian heavy infantry gear generally included bronze head protection, round shields, and durable linen armor. The true might of this force resided in Hannibal's ability to integrate these disparate cultural fighting styles into a single, perfectly coordinated, flexible instrument of war. Hannibal's military campaigns across the Italian peninsula remain foundational studies in strategic brilliance, heavily reliant on misdirection, mobility, and devastating coordination. Trebia, 218 BC. Hannibal employed elaborate feigned retreats and a concealed reserve force, led by his sibling Mago, to lure and ultimately annihilate a numerically superior Roman force after they had crossed the Frigid River. Lake Trasimene, 217 BC. A masterclass in concealment, he executed one of history's largest ambushes, trapping Roman legions tightly against the water, eliminating any possibility of tactical maneuver. His crowning achievement was the Battle of Cannae, 216 BC. Facing an overwhelming numerical disparity, Hannibal devised the perfect double envelopment. Intentional recession. He placed his less dependable Gallic and Iberian troops in a yielding center, intentionally drawing the dense Roman advance inward into a deep crescent formation. The flank closure. As the Romans plunged deep, the highly disciplined African heavy infantry pivoted inward, closing off the flanks. The decimation. Finally, the Numidian cavalry, having completely routed the Roman cavalry screen, circled back to seal the trap, achieving the complete annihilation of the enveloped legions. This was a victory of pure strategic art over raw military mass. Carthage's principal military defect was inherent in its system, a near-total dependence on mercenary contracts. Unlike the citizen-based legions of Rome, the loyalty of the Carthaginian army was strictly transactional, contingent on consistent and timely remuneration. Whenever finances faltered, or when the Carthaginian Senate failed to send necessary reinforcements or pay, the army's cohesion quickly fractured. Their impressive framework lacked the inherent patriotic stability and unified drive of their rival Roman system. Exceptional commanders, elite cavalry, and a series of tactical masterpieces earned them a prominent position. However, their ultimate undoing, a military structure based on financial obligation rather than national loyalty, rendered them too unstable for the protracted war of attrition required to achieve ultimate imperial hegemony. Number 8. The Han Dynasty Army, Engineering Precision and Industrial Logistics. The Han Dynasty constructed one of the most technologically sophisticated, durable, and massive militaries of the ancient world. Their armed strength was sustained less by singular heroic commanders, more by industrial-scale administration, advanced metallurgy, and the deployment of superior, uniformly manufactured weaponry. The crossbow, the standardized killer. The single most significant technological advantage held by the Han was the standardized crossbow. This was a landmark in ancient engineering. It was mass-produced with every component, crucially the bronze trigger mechanism, being precisely interchangeable, a concept centuries ahead of its time. The bronze trigger assembly demonstrated an accuracy and power verified by modern replicas, possessing a high draw weight, long lethal range, and sufficient penetrating force to slice through light lamellar armor at a distance. Han troops were rigorously trained to discharge these weapons in synchronized, overlapping massed volleys, transforming entire formations into coordinated systems capable of overwhelming cavalry charges before they reached melee range. The Han security was constantly tested by the formidable Xiongnu, a fierce confederation of nomadic horse archers dominating the northern steppes. This existential threat forced the Han into a cycle of rapid innovation, ultimately leading to their superiority. Mounted archery adaptation. The Han quickly developed and perfected their own elite mounted archer units to confront the Xiongnu on the open plains on equal terms. Iron technology. Elite Han cavalry were clad in heavier iron lamellar plating, carrying composite bows, long spears, and the straight-bladed Jian swords. Infantry utilized spears, halberds, and iron weaponry on an industrial scale, courtesy of the dynasty's superior metallurgical capabilities. Logistical network. Campaign success, particularly those led by generals like Huo Qubing, deep into nomadic territories, relied entirely on the Han's perfection of administrative discipline. They maintained rigid training, vast conscription rolls, and meticulous logistical planning. Armies could traverse immense deserts because supply depots, fortified positions, and staging areas were prepared months in advance along thousands of kilometers of frontier. The strength of the Han military transcended the battlefield. It was embedded in the bureaucratic machinery that sustained its imperial reach. Key elements included frontier engineering. They engineered thousands of kilometers of formidable fortified lines, the precursor to later Great Walls, to manage access to inner China and safeguard the nascent Silk Road trade routes. Psychological and political strategy. The Han frequently used targeted diplomacy, economic incentives, and alliances to intentionally fracture nomadic federations, demonstrating an ability to neutralize threats without ever committing to direct, costly combat. This systematic capacity to project and sustain overwhelming, technologically advanced forces far from the central capital ensured their enduring mastery over East Asia. The Han combined technological superiority, vast disciplined manpower, and unparalleled logistical administration to secure regional dominance, highlighted by their success against the ultimate mobile cavalry empire, the Xiongnu. However, their military influence remained primarily Asian, limiting their global historical footprint compared to the empires above them.
Number 7. The Greek Hoplite Army, the unyielding bronze shield wall. The Greek hoplite was the quintessential infantry soldier of the classical Greek world, a civic figure whose identity was interwoven with the defense of his polis. The military structure he pioneered remains one of history's most influential formations. The tactical and sociological foundation of the Greek armed forces was the phalanx. This was not a loose grouping, it was an indissoluble mass. The aespis hoplon. The central piece of equipment was the aespis, a heavy, bowl-shaped round shield, distinctively designed with a central armhole and a handstrap on the rim. This construction mechanically forced each man to overlap and lock shields with the soldier next to him, creating a single, continuous, formidable wall of bronze. The doru. The primary weapon was the doru, a sturdy spear, typically between 2 and 3 meters in length, used for thrusting aggressively over or under the shield line. Within the phalanx, structural integrity was paramount. The soldiers were conditioned to maintain a tight formation even under the most extreme pressure, recognizing that the emergence of even a small gap could instantaneously precipitate the unit's destruction. While widely used, the model was perfected and consecrated by Sparta, which functioned as a total, dedicated military state. The aegoj. Spartan males were inducted into the aegoj at the age of 7, enduring years of brutal physical conditioning, intentional deprivation, and absolute adherence to discipline. Rhythmic advance. By maturity, the Spartan was a full-time, professional fighting asset whose internal cohesion was legendary. Historians describe them advancing into battle accompanied by flute music, ensuring perfect, unhurried synchronization. Greek hoplites were decisive at pivotal moments in Western history. Marathon, 490 BC, Athenian hoplites launched an unorthodox charge to close distance rapidly with the Persian archers, negating their missile advantage. Plataea, 479 BC, coordinated shield pushes successfully dismantled the Persian line, securing Greek autonomy. Thermopylae, 480 BC, a small Hellenic force used the narrow terrain to their advantage, neutralizing the enemy's superior cavalry and missile troops using the phalanx's impregnable frontal defense. Despite its profound influence, the hoplite system was characterized by inflexibility. The phalanx performed poorly on uneven terrain, in forested areas, or when facing complex maneuvers. The system was inherently weak in light infantry support, dedicated cavalry, and tactical adaptability, vulnerabilities that both the Persians and later the Macedonians exploited to great effect. Their discipline, frontal killing efficiency, and foundational impact on Western military thought are undeniable strengths. However, the static, rigid nature of the phalanx limited their tactical range and adaptability, placing them structurally below the forces that excelled in combined arms and maneuverability. Number 6. The Elephant of the Mauryan Empire, Unmatched Scale and the Terror of the Howdah. The Mauryan Empire, the political force that unified the majority of the Indian subcontinent under Chandragupta Maurya, commanded a military machine distinguished by its sheer size, massive organization, and pioneering bureaucratic control. The quadrilateral force and elephant shock. The Mauryan military system was famously structured into a fourfold division: infantry, cavalry, chariots, and its most iconic and terrifying asset, war elephants. Psychological weaponry. The elephants were far more than just heavy beasts. They were living, armored siege towers and psychological deterrents. Clad in heavy plating, often topped with fortified howdahs carrying javelin throwers or archers, and equipped with iron-tipped tusks, their charges were capable of instantly collapsing enemy morale and formations. Infantry. The foot soldier contingent formed the bulk, utilizing large shields, straight swords, javelins, and, most importantly, the native Indian bamboo longbow, which possessed renowned range and penetration power. Mobility. Cavalry units using curved swords and spears provided the necessary speed for flanking operations and pursuit, effectively compensating for the elephant's slower pace. The scale of this army was staggering, with Greek observers claiming forces in the many hundreds of thousands. This vast manpower allowed Marian generals to employ deep, layered formations, elephants for the initial destructive impact, infantry for sustained engagement, and cavalry for the decisive flank attack. Administrative blueprint, the Arthashastra. The viability of maintaining such an immense force was due to the administrative blueprint detailed in the Arthashastra, a foundational text on statecraft and military logistics. This text outlined structure and supply, meticulous organizational diagrams, complex espionage networks, and rigorous supply management protocols were detailed, ensuring that this vast army could be provisioned and deployed efficiently over a subcontinent-sized theater. Strategy. The Marian strategic approach favored intimidation, overwhelming force, and meticulous logistical preparation over the intricate tactical finesse of smaller armies. Under Ashoka the Great, the military reached its zenith. His brutal campaign against Kalinga resulted in horrific casualties, underscoring the destructive capacity of the fully mobilized Marian war engine. Their colossal manpower, unmatched organization, and the devastating, unique asset of the Elephant Corps were second to none. However, their reliance on scale and methodical application of force meant their battlefield methods lacked the technical refinement and tactical versatility found in the armies ranked above them, prioritizing mass over precision maneuver. Number 5. The Wolf of the Assyrian Army, the professional vanguard and siege architects. The Assyrian army holds the distinction of being history's first truly professional military establishment. This was a force where martial service was a year-round occupation, not a seasonal commitment, granting them decisive advantages in speed standardization, training, and the execution of complex, multi-branch operations. Assyria's ability to maintain a standing, full-time military allowed for longer campaigning seasons and faster response times than contemporary levy-based kingdoms. Combined missile fire. Assyrian archers, utilizing powerful composite bows, were often shielded by dedicated shield-bearers, enabling sustained, protected volleys. Superior metal. Infantry used spears tipped with iron, short swords, and large, heavy rectangular shields. Crucially, many elite units wore scale armor constructed from bronze or iron, a significant protective advantage over the more common leather and linen used elsewhere. Cavalry innovation. Moving beyond the chariot, the Assyrians pioneered the use of mounted lancers and archers, creating fast, adaptable units ideal for flanking, pursuit, and reconnaissance, a vital strategic asset. The Assyrians fundamentally redefined warfare by mastering siegecraft. For any city in the ancient Near East, the arrival of the Assyrian army meant the near certainty of destruction. Assault machinery. They developed massive, mobile wheeled battering rams and towering siege structures. Sappers and tunneling. Specialized engineering units known as sappers constructed tunnels beneath fortifications to induce collapses. Earthworks. They meticulously built immense ramps and earthworks to breach defenses where direct assault was impractical. No ancient power was more efficient and terrifyingly effective at capturing fortified cities than Assyria. establishing them as the undisputed masters of military engineering in their era. Their operational strategy extended into psychological warfare. Kings deliberately commissioned and displayed public art detailing gruesome punishments, mass executions, and the forced deportations of conquered populations. This systematic terror was policy, intended to induce cities to surrender preemptively based solely on the Assyrian army's fearsome, well-advertised reputation. Their conquests spanned Mesopotamia, Anatolia, the Levant, and temporarily into Egypt. Their ability to rapidly move and sustain large forces over vast distances was facilitated by an early network of imperial roads and supply depots, predating later more famous Roman systems. As pioneers, the first true professional army, the first masters of the complex siege, and early practitioners of combined arms tactics, their regional dominance was absolute. However, their military focus
and influence remained largely concentrated in the Near East, lacking the global, transformative reach of the three empires positioned higher. Number 4. The Achaemenid Persian Army, Administrative Colossus, and the Immortal Guard. The Achaemenid Persian army was the engine that powered and maintained the world's most extensive empire up to that time. Its formidable power derived not merely from its size, but from its revolutionary command of imperial logistics, administration, and its ability to unify diverse military cultures. Symbolically and strategically, the nucleus of the Persian military was the Immortals, a dedicated 10,000-man elite infantry corps. Permanent strength. Their unique characteristic was the immediate replacement of any soldier who died or became incapacitated, ensuring the unit's strength never dropped below 10,000 men, the source of their legendary name. Dual role. They were equipped with wicker shields, the Akinaka short sword, and the composite bow, allowing them to function both as disciplined spearmen and rapid, accurate archers. The larger Persian army was a truly multinational federation, brilliantly leveraging the specialized talents of every imperial subject. Heavy cavalry. The Medes and Persians contributed the elite, heavily armored cavalry, utilizing scale armor and long lances for shock charges. Specialized units. Egyptians provided expert archers and naval marines. Babylonians were heavy infantry. Lydians were famous for armored riders. This comprehensive diversity provided Persia with unmatched tactical versatility. Persian commanders could field any combination of troops, from heavy lancers to light archers, depending on the operational theater. The enduring success of the Persian military rested on its ability to sustain massive operations over continental distances. This was made possible by monumental infrastructure. Imperial roads. Persia maintained a vast, coordinated system of royal roads, standardized relay stations, and meticulously organized supply depots across millions of square kilometers. This permitted faster, more reliable army mobilization than any contemporary rival. Missile dominance. Tactically, Persia relied on the strategic use of overwhelming numbers and a debilitating arrow saturation strategy. Tens of thousands of archers would unleash continuous volleys designed to inflict massive casualties and destroy enemy cohesion before the infantry even entered melee. Their campaigns in Central Asia and Egypt demonstrated their systematic adaptability, relying on coordinated logistics and high-level organization. Their greatest legacy was demonstrating how an empire could integrate dozens of distinct military cultures into a single, unified, and sustainable war machine. Immense scale, the elite perpetual immortals, and unparalleled logistical brilliance defined the Persian war machine. They are ranked just below the top 3 because despite their size, their heavy infantry doctrine was less adaptable and tactically refined in sustained close-quarters combat than the armies that mastered the shock and breakthrough maneuver. Number 3. The Mongol Army, the engine of meritocracy and the cavalry storm. The Mongol army was unique, a military force less defined by tradition and more by efficiency, speed, and ruthless meritocracy. Forged by Genghis Khan on the foundation of iron discipline and a rigid commitment to promoting based only on proven battlefield competency, they conquered more territory in a shorter period than any army in history. The horse archer, velocity and lethality. The core unit of the Mongol conquest was the horse archer, engineered for maximum mobility and offensive precision. The composite bow. Each warrior was equipped with the devastating composite bow, capable of high penetration shots at long range, using specialized arrows for fire or armor piercing. Relentless movement. Every soldier maintained multiple mounts, allowing them to switch horses frequently and cover distances exceeding 100 kilometers per day, far surpassing the mobility of any medieval or ancient army. The signature shot. They were rigorously trained to fire accurately in any direction while galloping, perfecting the feigned retreat where they would shower pursuing enemies with arrows from their rear. Strategic innovation. Deception and encirclement. Mongol tactics were revolutionary for their era. They perfected the feigned retreat, executed with impossible discipline to lure opposing armies out of strong defensive positions and into massive, coordinated encirclement traps spanning huge tracts of land. Their strategy was centered on disruption and psychological impact, utilizing waves of cavalry and devastating arrow storms to break enemy will and formation before committing to melee. Information warfare and adaptability. The Mongols excelled at centralized command, control, and information gathering. Intelligence rode weeks in advance, using detailed intelligence to locate water sources, identify weak rulers, and secure strategic mountain passes. Command. The rapid Yam postal system ensured that orders were transmitted instantly across continents, allowing Mongol armies to coordinate complex maneuvers across vast distances. Siege adaptation. They demonstrated terrifying adaptability. Against cities, they utilized captured Chinese engineers, deployed massive trebuchets for counterweight artillery, and even experimented with early gunpowder charges and mining to collapse fortifications. They incorporated specialists from all subdued cultures to enhance their war machine. The Mongol army was a master of speed, open-terrain tactics, and strategic brilliance, achieving conquests with unprecedented velocity. However, their power was tied to sustained aggressive momentum. They demonstrated a slight structural vulnerability when forced into prolonged attritional siege warfare against heavily fortified and resilient opponents, placing them just below the two armies that mastered systemic, long-term durability.
Number 2. The Macedonian Army, the cavalry hammer and pike anvil. The Macedonian Army, flawlessly rebuilt under Philip II and masterfully wielded by Alexander the Great, represents a fundamental break from earlier Greek warfare. It was not an army of citizen levies, but a highly drilled, professional machine built upon a decisive combined arms system. Philip II revolutionized the infantry by replacing the short doru with the sarissa, a gigantic pike measuring between 4 and 6 meters long. This singular innovation shifted the entire focus of ancient battle. Reach superiority. Macedonian infantry relied on sheer reach and continuous drilling rather than heavy shields. The formation became an impenetrable wall that could pin and hold an enemy from a distance they could not bridge. Lighter protection. Soldiers wore lighter armor, linen or composite cuirasses, and smaller shields strapped to the forearm.
making them faster and more able to endure long fights. The Macedonian phalanx, bristling with pikes, was the anvil, the fixed point designed to absorb pressure and prevent the enemy from maneuvering. The companion cavalry, the shock hammer. The true instrument of destruction was the companion cavalry, the elite shock unit, often led from the front by Alexander himself. Armed with the xyston, a long, heavy lance, they were the hammer. Wedge assaults. They performed disciplined wedge charges aimed at exploiting flanks or gaps created by the phalanx. The coordinated kill. The tactic was a precisely synchronized operation. Immobilize the enemy with the anvil, sarissa pikes, then deliver the catastrophic breakthrough with the hammer, the companion cavalry. Strategic precision and integration. Alexander excelled in tactical flexibility, utilizing oblique maneuvers, rapid flanking marches, and mixed unit columns to defeat numerically superior forces. The army was also a technological innovator. Artillery integration. They included dedicated siege engineers and, uniquely for open-field combat, deployed torsion-powered catapults and ballistae to weaken formations before engagement. At Gaugamela, Alexander demonstrated genius by widening his formation to withstand the immense Persian charge before driving his cavalry wedge through the enemy's center, a strategic move that fundamentally dismantled the Achaemenid Empire. The Macedonian army pioneered the definitive combined armed system of the ancient world. They integrated professional infantry, elite shock cavalry, and specialized artillery under brilliant leadership. They did not just win battles, they conducted perfectly executed, large-scale operations that permanently altered the global political landscape. Number 1. The apex of durability and systemic power, the Roman army. The Roman army was the most structurally resilient, systematically engineered, and enduring military machine in human history. Its unmatched power derived not from a singular weapon or king, but from an institutional culture of relentless discipline, meticulous engineering, and unwavering loyalty to the legion itself. The engineered soldier and formation. Unlike other forces, Rome built a professional army sustained by continuous drilling. The Roman soldier was a full-time military asset who scouted, fortified, and policed. The cohort system. The structure, sentries led by veteran centurions grouped into cohorts, was capable of independent operation. The cohort and manipular formations were strategically flexible, able to rotate fresh troops forward, absorb massive charges, and exploit weaknesses with surgical precision, unlike the rigid phalanx. The gladius. Their iconic weapon was the short, double-edged gladius, optimized for rapid stabbing behind the protection of the scutum, large shield, dominating close-quarters combat. The pilum. The heavy throwing spear, the pilum, was designed with a soft iron shank that bent on impact, rendering the enemy's shield useless and preventing the spear from being thrown back. Defensive gear was standardized and highly effective, ranging from larica hamata, chainmail, to larica segmentata, plate armor. Auxiliary units provided essential cavalry, archery, and slingers, completing the tactical spectrum. Roman engineering was integral to its military supremacy. Fortification. Every single night, the army constructed a standardized, fortified marching camp, complete with ditches and palisades. Every stopping point became a temporary fortress. Logistics and siege. They constructed the imperial roads for rapid troop movement and excelled in siege warfare. At Alesia, Julius Caesar famously trapped a larger Gallic army with 2 concentric rings of brilliant fortifications. Rome's most critical strategic asset was its unparalleled capacity for adaptation. They consistently learned from and integrated the strengths of every enemy they defeated, adopting Numidian cavalry tactics, Greek siege technology, and Iberian blade design. Crucially, military defeats like Teutoburg triggered immediate systemic reforms, leading to evolution rather than collapse. Their military system was engineered for long-term dominance and institutional resilience. No other military institution in history maintained dominance, cohesion, and continuous expansion for as many centuries as the Roman army. Their blend of organizational durability, systemic engineering, relentless discipline, and tactical evolution made them the most potent and transformative force the ancient world ever produced. If this journey through history's most powerful armies pulled you in, drop a like, leave a comment about which army should appear next, and subscribe for more legendary stories. And if you want something even more epic, don't miss Genghis Khan, My True Story, where the great Khan himself reveals the path that led him to immortality. It's unmissable.